Oh, pressure.
Do you have the boots?
I forgot white mode exists. White version.
I haven't switched for a while. I don't know, this is like the worst phone I've ever had. It's like the cheapest Samsung I could get. That's how it was.
It looks solid.
It's just like it's slow in here. So like, and sometimes things don't work. It's like, what? Anyway,
I feel like even Apple,
yeah,
when they laid off like 10% of their company, I think things started happening.
yeah. Sabotage,
Morgan.
Morgan C. Monster. I haven't. I'm not as good. I'm not as good. So,
I think that's horrible.
well, yeah.
Man, your art's incredible. Do you do multimedia work as well?
I used to do more. I've been like trying to focus on illustrating. But my brain used to be very malleable, and I feel like ADHD's gotten worse in my older age, or my energy is. I don't know.
Something's happening. I relate to that. Oh, okay.
Oh,
No, no, no. I was like, yeah, no, I'm on ADHD.
Yeah, with a K or
It's actually
Welcome to the 19th Annual Wright Awards. Chairman of Wright Awards, Brad McCobb.
Thank you for coming out in this outstanding hall. I did just have applause for this hall. I'm Brad McCobb. I'm the chair of the Wright Awards Foundation. I'd like to welcome to our 19th annual awards ceremony. Which means that the awards now officially in Ontario we can drink. So by me, the drinks. And this is also for indoor in-person that we've had for years. Speak up. Yes. And the first we had at Hogwarts. You knew that part. Speaking of Hogwarts, for those of you who are wondering, this is the Harris Matters Club, which is a legendary members only club founded in 1908 by John Hart, journalist August. He envisioned it as a means of supporting the arts and literature, journalism, architecture, music, and sculpture. In Toronto, it imagined the space as a retreat for the practice of everyday life and democracy and creative minds. In 1920, the club moved to its current building, which its members redesigned and reshaped as they combat the haven and kindred souls. In its 155-year history, the club has hosted hundreds of members, including Christopher Plummer, Marshall McEwen, Robert Davies, Maureen Forrester, Fry, Hyman, Jack Bush, Elizabeth Sinclair, W.O. Mitchell, L.B. Ost, and all 8 members of the society. That was a joke set. And yet, by my count, not one cartoonist among them. So, congratulations, and I think the goal tonight would be to make up for this historical wrong. So, thanks for all coming. But seriously, before the show, I was wandering around this place, and it has a lot going for it. I suggest you walk around. There's 3 floors. In the archives, you can find actually the second floor a series of sketches and cartoons based on members here, drawn by Dustin and member Arthur Lismer. And then there's the portrait of past presidents, which you can see in the bar, which you pass in the entryway. And we are in the Great Hall, which features a working fireplace, grand piano, satirical banners created by 7 artists, including H. McDonald, each celebrating family members of the club, which were kind of, I don't know what the jokes are, but we should talk about it later over drinks, because I find it very interesting. And a little known fact, the stage actually has a secret trap door. So that's it. On a completely unrelated note, I see Dave Collier is in back through. That connects to the past conference. So if you come up on stage, go to that spot. I see Conan's bias note here. He's also the executive director of the Wright Awards. Congratulations to please, everybody clap for Conan. Conan is the publisher of the esteemed literary magazine Title Creek. He's the author of this as usual. And he decided, you might have heard that he decided after 25 years to cease the publication of Title Creek, which is something I made him do actually, so he devoted 100% of his time to the Wright Awards. So I want to congratulate you on your landmark and your milestone. Here, our honorary king. So Dustin, I've already worked express time tonight, so we had these jokes. I know he's a busy guy, it's totally fine, it's the thing, I know this is probably, maybe I thought about it, probably controversial for a lot of areas here. So I tried it before, and I strokes, I asked him to identify which strokes were written by AI himself. I think I got this right. It's simple. The ones that get a laugh written by Dustin, and the ones that bomb written by Ted. Is that right? He didn't use that. Also, he's a legendary cartoonist, also American, with a trend, Bob Square. Continuing an August edition of Drawing People Unsafe with the Drum. Thank you for doing this. He's returned to the easel, Bob, for years, also known as Dustin. He'll be live drawing the ceremony, so he'll be drawing that you can carry along. And if I have a mention, if you just take like a couple of pounds off of me, just it's always been rough, it'd be great. Jeet here is in the state somewhere, Jeet. Essayist, Twitter celebrity, former DWA organizer, it's so great to see you in person today. And I really appreciate you taking time from Twitter and maybe tweeting about your kids and doing this today. So I appreciate that. Lovely, thanks for coming out, Seth, this year. Last year, Seth became a Chevalier of the Order of the Arts and Letters of France, which I think is amazing. At the Prince Catholic General's house, it was fantastic. I've never been more impressed with that, but I think it's really hard to top. So I was talking with him last night for drinks, and he's trying to top that. So if you all gather on the floor of TCAF, where he's going to bass drum from the top of the reference language to the floor, I think it's going to be great. Do you know what bass drumming is? My joke was successful. It hinged on the fact that you had no idea what it is. Okay. Moving on. Some of you might be asking yourselves, what are the Doug Wright Awards? The Doug Wright Awards are a non-profit foundation committed to supporting and celebrating the best in Canadian comics. The primary way we do this is through our awards ceremony, which you're here tonight, which we've been holding annually without interruption for 19 years. Our mission is to cast the spotlight on Canadian comics and the people who make them. A lot of you are here in the audience today, so thank you for coming out. It's very satisfying to see all of the seats filled up top as well, so thanks. And if I could urge you, if you haven't already, all of the nominated books are up front, so please check them out. They're here for sale, thanks to the Galling. So if you could check them out and buy a couple, that'd be lovely. Over nearly 2 decades, we've handed out nearly 60 Wright Award trophies to an all-star lineup of the country's best cartoonists, some of which are here today, I guess. Michelle Rabagliati, Julian Tamaki, Joel Olin is here. Mariko Tamaki, Kate Eaton, who might be here, I didn't see her. She's nominated tonight. Sam Elwani, Mark Bell, David Collier, Elise Gravel, Hartley Lynn, Michael Forge, Jesse Jacobs, to name just a few. Each year we hand out trophies in 4 categories, which are right here. Best book, The Nipper, the Big Skin Peters Award, and the Egghead. In order to be considered, the book must have been published in the previous calendar year. This year received a record 200 entries from dozens of publishers and self-published cartoonists. Each category is judged by a diverse 3-member jury made up of cartoonists, experts, and those with deep knowledge and appreciation of the medium. Books are judged on quality of illustration, writing, and production. In addition to our awards categories, we also take time every year to honor Canadian comics history by inducting a cartoonist or cartoonists into our Hall of Fame called the Giants of the North. This year, our inductee will be Ariette Valiem, a Patrick Hemley, who passed away in 2021. He was a French-Canadian underground cartoonist. He was also the winner of the 2017 Big Skin Peters Award, Palace of Champions. And of course, the Wright Awards take the name from master cartoonist Doug Wright, whose comics for Doug Wright's family was a mainstay in Canadian newspapers in the mid-20th century. This year, the Wright Awards have launched a crowdfunding campaign to publish volume 2 of the collected Doug Wright, which Seth and I will be chatting a bit about later. I should also mention that I'm so grateful and fortunate to have 2 members of the Wright family sitting right next to Seth and Tang. So Ken Wright is with us, which is Doug and Phyllis's youngest child. He's right there. And Kim, which is, I guess, Doug and Phyllis, well, your daughter, but So thanks for coming, guys. And Ken, it would be nice to have to say a few words later on about Doug, so that's great. And as always, nothing like this or TCAF could go on without volunteers and sponsors. So I just wanted to recognize some of those folks. I'd like to thank in no particular order, Alex Hoffman, Jay Stevens, Alex, let's say your applause, yeah. Alex J. Stevens, I'm not sure if he's here, but he won last year. Jay's in the back. He did our magnificent poster. Thank you, Jay. Michael Thorner, pianist, who will be playing incidental music. Incidental music, is that the right phrase? Anyway, so he's doing that. So thank you for live music. Eric Bayette, Derek Wincheers, Jeff Speed, the aforementioned Arson Koryak, Chief Ladybird, Andy Brown, John Montgomery, who stepped up to do the redesign of our Doug Wright Awards brand this year. So kudos to him. I think it looks great. And last but not least, you have Arafa, who I feel like Steph and I adopted Ehab. Maybe it's the second awards. Not to infantilize you, but Ehab is in the back. He was handing out your raffle tickets tonight. He's been with us since the second year. He also did a great little map to direct people to the event. So Ehab, a round of applause for Ehab. Before I forget, because I most likely will, the raffle tickets that you should have got from Ehab earlier, stick around to the end of the evening. That's for a copy of the Collecting Doug Wright Volume 1 and for Wimbledon Green action figure. Is that right? That's right. So stick around to the end of the evening. We'll draw that. I'd also like to thank our sponsors, Crowdfunder, which sponsored our venue tonight. Thank you for that. Toronto Life Magazine, Broken Pencil Magazine, Strange Adventures Comic Shop, Koyama Provides, Valley View Artist Retreat, the Arts and Letters Club, Super 7, the guy like the last but not least, TCAF. That's it. That's my time. I'm up. Before they pull the trap door, I suppose I'm very delighted to introduce you to your host for the 19th Annual Doug Wright Awards, cartoonist and wannabe Canadian, Dusty, aka Mr. Dustin Harbin.
I can't believe they canceled ChatGPT. Brad, you fucker. I accidentally caught a buzz at dinner after a long day at the show, and so this is going to be a little more ramshackle than it always is, let's be honest. My notes for this are a bunch of pieces of paper that I cannot possibly see because I'm 48 years old and have no eye vision. Hello, I'm Dustin Harbin. I am the world's greatest cartoonist. Why am I here? Because this is a Canadian award. I don't know if you knew it. It's a Canadian Culture Award, and I am not Canadian, not even a little bit Canadian. I come to Canada a lot. I love Canada. I support Canada. I'm rooting for Canada, which is becoming America. The way it is like that, I'm not encouraging of that. It's not good. But I'm not Canadian, so it's a little silly that you guys keep inviting me to host this award. It is, in its defense, a hugely diverse list of people that have hosted this award ceremony. You've got your Don McKellar, there's Dustin Harbin, there's Don McKellar, Scott, why did I just forget Scott? Scott Thompson, yeah, there's Scott Thompson, then Don McKellar, Dustin Harbin, Scott Thompson, and one time Steve Benelli. And that One person that doesn't host the Doug Wright Awards, possibly the best student person that hosts the Doug Wright Awards, is Seth, the most charming of all Canadians that I can think of. No offense, Brad. Of course, Seth might one day, if he plays his cards right, be nominated for a Doug Wright Award, and that would be a little bit awkward. So instead, you import a bombastic peacock from a nation of maniacs, and you say, "Tell us about our culture. Help us understand our art form." I have in the past made a lot of fun of inviting an American, the worst of the Western Hemisphere's peoples, to talk about culture, at all. But I do think what I bring to the table, is this my fourth time? God damn it. I do have an American perspective, which is a bad perspective. But in our country, in my country, not our country, we don't have things like this. The Wright Awards is not a flawless event. I think there's always room for improvement in anything that's involved in the arts, which is very organic, ever-shifting, landscape. So you can never say like, "We've nailed it, all done." But I think the Wrights are such a well-organized, or at least well-decanted, like, here's what we want to do, event. And not so much the event, because this is not well organized. This is, it's shoddy. But the DNA of the award is, like, to me, the best, because in America, we don't have this. If we had an award in America, it would immediately be like, well, can we monetize this award? Or I listened to a Canadian cartoonist who's a friend of mine, who I like quite a lot, say in my hearing tonight, like, "Oh, I guess, I don't know if I'm going to make the awards." I mean, awards are great, but isn't it just like they're very useful for when you're trying to publicize a book. And that's how we view awards in America, mostly. It's like, Eisner Award nominated, or whatever the things. I've been nominated for awards, but it's like for lettering or something like this, which is like being nominated for fluffing in the pornography awards. It's not the most vaunted award. But we have like popularity contests. We say, like, bring your whole Twitter following to this award, and let's see who has the best outreach, or let's see which publicist can stuff the ballot box at the Harveys. Not naming any names, the Harveys. The Wright Awards do a thing that I think is really important and Seth is maybe I'm overthinking it. I feel like Seth's part in the inception of the Wrights is kind of central to it, where it's like, I think arguably one of the most noble things you could do as an artist is to enlarge the work of artists around you, especially if you, like Seth, spent like an impossible amount of time slogging through the trenches of the 1980s, like doing a book signing. I'm guessing here now, I might be like doing I walked uphill both ways in the snow to school, but like store signings in Pennsylvania to 6 people or something. Like, let me tell you. So if you like Seth, then achieve a certain amount of comfort, and you can afford a very nice hat later in your career. Then you turn around. Most people turn around and say, "I could buy a second hat. I could buy a nice pair of wingtips." But Seth, and I've heard him talk about this a bunch of times, so I don't feel like I'm speaking in terms. I think Seth really values contextualizing the people that came before and the people that come after. So you do the service to the people that are coming up now. And part of the service might be like, I need something to bounce my ball against. I need something to rebel against. I don't want to be like Seth. I'm going to be this anti-Seth. And it might be like, hey, Seth is gathered a trove of, illustrative technique over a 40-year career, 30-ish year career. I don't want to age you. Over a 12-year career. But imagine being in a position where you could say, hey, do you know about Doug Wright? He's an enormous influence on my work and the work of a lot of Canadian cartoonists, but you might not know about him. The next person might say, hey, do you know about Seth? He's an enormous influence on my work, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that is huge. And one of the things the Wrights do really well is not only say, this person that is gone, their work was valuable, which I think is enormously important. But they also say this work of someone that you have not noticed, or that is part of a marginalized community, or does not have the agency to or the like, whatever it is that I'm good at as a marginal cartoonist, I can also. Most people are not good at that stuff, especially in marginalized communities. So it says, can I help that person achieve more visibility and have more agency and have more access to all the things that we kind of take for granted? So I think it is a really important thing that the Wrights do, that when we show up for this event, which I love, I've been to this event, I don't know, 10, 12 times in a row. I love the ones, my very favorites were the ones where Seth would, interview someone on stage and have them talk about their work in plush, giant chairs that seemed like they were dragged out of Seth's very house. It's fantastic. It just reminds you that the thing that you do is important. That the dumb, silly zine that you photocopied and you labored over that is going to lead to the next better zine, that is going to lead to the book, that is going to lead to the this, to that, the other, that's going to lead to an artistic life is important. And it's easy to forget that. And I think that the worst possible use of an award like this is, well, it's good publicity, or it helps me sell books. The best possible is to remind ourselves that the things that we do are important. And they take work and technique, and they take a community. They don't happen in a vacuum, even though it always feels that way. All of our studios are vacuums. I just think that's great. I think it's fun to like tease Brad and make fun of this or that or whatever. There haven't been any AV problems yet, unless none of you can hear anything that I'm saying. So that's a first, I think, in Wright history. But I just wanted to underline that I think that these awards are really important. And to remind you that in my clearly superior nation with no problems at all, we don't really have a thing like this. Our award ceremony goes on for 4 hours. We bring up a celebrity that's never heard of comics before, that maybe is playing Thor in a movie, and have them, I don't know, it's a mess. So I think what you have here is pretty great, except for the host. I would suggest that if I were to change something, I would have Seth host the Doug Wright Awards. But let me finish that. Failing that, Steve Manali. That was a great year. We need more basketball players hosting comics awards. At any rate, I've either run out of my notes or I've completely gone off on a tangent, and I'm just going to call the ball at this point. And I'm going to continue with Brad's script, or Conan's script. Who wrote the script? Did you see how it subtly indicated that I did not? And now the awards. If your name is announced as the winner, please come up on stage to give your speech, and then Seth will present you, this kind of not me, with your award on the floor in front of the stage as you return to your seat. And please smile for the photographer as you're handed your award, you animal. First up, the Egghead, the Doug Wright Award for Best Kids Book, which recognizes the year's best book aimed at children 0, which is 10 less than 10. The award takes its name from the Wright's original unused name for his signature character, Nipper. The winner of The Egghead receives a trophy and a small cash prize. To present this year's Egghead, please welcome Dave Howard, founder of the Toronto Comics Jam, the former publisher of the Small Press Comics anthology, Don't Touch Me, and one of this year's Pigskin Peter judges.
Good evening, everybody. The nominees for the 2023 Egghead Awards are Scout is Not a Band Kid by Jade Armstrong, published by Random House Graphic. Pause, Mindy Makes Some Space by Michelle Sarasakorn and Nathan Fairburn. Super Family, Simon and Chester, Book 3, by Cale Atkinson, published by Timber Books. The Flamingo, by Gugene, published by Random House Studio. Finally, You Know, Sex, by Corey Silverberg and Fiona Smith. The winner is, You Know, Sex. I thought we were just getting our picture taken. Corey and I would like to thank the jurors, and we'd like to send a shout out to the other most excellent nominees. And then this is thanks to Vern, our editor, to our publisher, Seven Stories Press, and our amazing book designer, Zab, who's been there from the beginning with What Makes a Baby and Sex is a Funny Word. Thanks to our families, Corey's family, Zoe and Sadie, and my family, my mom, Jean, and my sister, Sheila, who may be watching the streaming right now, and my partner, Craig. Big thank yous to the numerous folks who had input in the creation of this much needed book. Kids, guardians, therapists, doulas, midwives, doctors, nurses, educators, and activists, and I could probably say more. Yeah, this book is not made in a vacuum. It's not just the two of us. It goes way beyond there. And I have to give thanks to Corey for their vision in changing the conversation around children's sex ed. By empowering kids, by respecting their knowledge and their lived experiences. Thank you.
You know, something kind of sinister happened to me the other day. But it was sexy. Even sexier than that. That's right. And then I fell down. Our second award this evening is the Pigskin Peachers, the Doug Wright Awards for Best Small or Micropress Book, sponsored by Broken Pencil Magazine. This award, given to a book not published by a major press, is named for a popular character in Jimmy Freese's comic Bird's Eye Center. The winner of the Pigskin Peachers receives a black bowler hat, which is many feet, similar to the one worn by the award's namesake, and a small cash prize. Here to present the 2023 Pigskin Peachers Award is Zach Kotzer, the editor of Broken Pencil Magazine.
Really relieved I don't have to do a bit tonight. So the nominees for the 2023 Pigskin Peachers Awards are The Life I Want by Patrick Allaby, which is self-published. Assorted Baggage by Matthew Daly, published by Wright. Where Have You Been by Ivana Filipovich, translated by Ivana Filipovich and Andrea Hankerson, which is also self-published. Butterfly House by Troy Little and Brenda Hickey, published by Thousand Oaks, Machine Mail, Part 3 by Blaise Moritz, published by Urban Farm Print and Sound. And tonight's winner is Where Have You Been by Ivana Filipovich, translated by
Ivana couldn't be here today. She's out in Vancouver, but I'm sure she's very thankful for this award. My name's Andy. The reason I'm accepting it is because I run Conundrum Press, and a story from this amazing book, we're going to publish it. It's just extended into a graphic novel called What's Fear Got to Do with It? So look for that next TCAF. So thank you very much from Ivana.
This is not a joke. I was emailing with Conan this week because I wanted to talk about I think the way these awards are selected is quite good. And it's changed a few times over the tenure of the show, the lifetime of not the show, the award ceremony. But currently, if you would like to be nominated for a Doug Wright Award, you can nominate yourself for a Doug Wright Award. There's like an application on the website, I believe. Is that wrong? Is that wrong, Conan? Or misunderstanding? Yeah. You don't need to have a publisher. Your publisher can. What?
You can enter.
Yeah, I don't mean you're nominated. That's a very good distinction, but it is pretty open to the public, and it's not a rarefied like some people met in a dark room, probably a bunch of white men, and decided who were gonna win this award. It's like pretty open, and the judges' selection is it's all very to me very posh, as a dumb, as Jeet here called me yesterday, cracker. To me, it just seems like incredibly fancy. So I encourage you in future years to go out and get a Doug Wright Award, because I think they're very good awards. Anyway, I used to work on a farm, and I shoveled poop a lot. The poop was delicious. Try to throw the guy, he's unthrowable. Our next award is the Nipper, the Doug Wright Award for Best Emerging Talent, sponsored by Koyama Provides, my favorite human on earth, Amy Koyama. This award, given to an author or team early in their career and deserving of wider recognition, is named in honor of Doug Wright's signature character. The winner of the Nipper receives a trophy, a small cash prize, and, I don't think I knew this, a week at the Valley View Artist Retreat in Caledon, Ontario. My ass. Here to present the 2023 Nipper Award is Jordan Alec, the library manager of the Canada Comics Open Library, cartoonist, and one of this year's Pigskin Peters judges.
I prepared a short scroll to read about judging this award and what it is to be emerging talent. So I'm just going to say 5 minutes of words for a second before I announce the nominees. Up and coming, emerging talent to come forth. Before announcing the nominees and winner for this year's Nipper Award, I will be reading a less than 5 minute scroll on my experiences and nature of judging cartoonists with emerging talent. What is new? What is new to have once known? What is best? What is preference? Perspective is truly everything. The wisdom bestowed upon me by reading these comics books from so many different individuals over the years has brought more understanding to me of the nature of human life than any other medium is able to communicate with such clarity of the self. Cartoons have always represented the language of the self to me, the self being the brain and the heart and the rest of the body and the body at rest. Experiencing and resonating as one's only own, through time and space, all in similar or different frequencies to prescribe the language of the self onto the page, leaving from the psychic realm and entering into the physical world, serving justice to ourselves. If you have made a comic, you are an up-and-coming cartoonist and emerging talent. What was said about Doug Wright earlier and how he continues to be emerging in different people's eyes and perspective is something that I have been thinking about all week and all month when judging these awards. The question, what is it to emerge into talent, keeps coming across my brain. I hope everyone always strives to be emerging in circles and communities which have yet to be blessed by the essence of cartooning. Why limit oneself to only emerge from a single orifice? I mention this because of the idea of age relating to emergence and up and coming. Should this be reserved for the young and willing, or for the practice yet unheard of, finally to be spotlighted? How can I know all comics? Making unknown parts of the self known to the public is scary. The power of potential energy of cartoons and cartoonings and cartoonists and comic books and graphic novels and expression of the self through sequential narration continues to amaze me over and over again. Before saying names, I would like to apologize for any mispronunciations ahead of time. Yes, the cartoonists nominated for the Nipper Award are Emily Carrington for Our Little Secret, published by Drawing Horrible. all of these books are amazing, and I recommend everyone to go out and read all of them. Jonathan Dick for Shelter Bells, Conundrum Press. Kiona Calahoo Lightfoot for We Were Younger Once, Conundrum Press. Lynette Richards for Call Me Bill, Conundrum Press and Amanda Imprints. And Adam D'Souza for Blind Alley No. 1 and Ish, self-published and Silver Sprocket release. May all of your talents never cease to emerge, your pencils always remain sharp or dull as you will, and your ink not smudge, unless that's what you want, then may your ink smudge in full chaos. And now, on behalf of the Doug Wright Awards, the winner for The Nipper goes to Jonathan Dick.
First off, my fellow nominees, your books are amazing. Thank you so much for making them. Thank you to the Doug Wright Awards, the jury members, Conundrum Press, specifically Annie Brown and Sal Soller, for believing in this book and giving me so much license with it. Yeah, I also want to thank my parents who are very much in this book and read parts of it and were uncomfortable with parts of it and still gave me their blessing. So I really, wouldn't be here without them. Thank you to my editor, Sarah Entz, and to the Manitoba Arts Council for allowing me to pay my editor. I want to dedicate this award to all the queer Mennonites out there, past and present, and just thank you very much.
It's always sad when we lose a member of the Canadian comics community. This past year, we were sorry to see the passing of two, Scott Carruthers and Manny Kuyaba, both 2021 Doug Wright Award winners. Please welcome Mark Laliberte of Pop Noir Editions, publisher of Scott's winning book, The Noiseless Den, and Alexa Finbow of Renegade Arts Entertainment, publisher of A Slug Story, which Mandy is co-authored.
This is Scott's book. And I just wanted to take a moment to say a little bit about Scott. Scott was, first and foremost, a friend. And in 2020, I had the opportunity to release Scott's long-form graphic novel. His first experiment with comics in a book form. A lot of his career took place in galleries. He was interested in panels and sequences, and he did a lot of large-scale wall work. But he had this graphic novel. You know, I'm a boutique kind of art press imprint. I publish a book a year. I had the chance to publish this book, and we went for it. It was a strange book to take on. A wordless, fragmentary sequence with one foot in the art world. Mark Newey, who's another cartoonist, blurbed the book, and he's in the crowd today. He called it a convention-busting, mind-bending visual treat, and it was. It was all that and more. I was extremely proud to publish the book. It came right around the time of the pandemic, so Scott was not able to tour it. But the Doug Wright Awards, noticed it. It won the 2021 Pigskin Peters Award, and I know that Scott was very proud of that. I was surprised to find out that Scott passed. I didn't really know about his sickness, and that was, I think, a choice of his. We spent today here at TCAF doing a panel talk about Scott. It was touching. A lot of the people in the room knew him personally. His family was there. His very caring artist partner, Tanya Reid, was there. And yeah, so it's been a great day to look back at Scott's work. I thank the Doug Wright Committee for inviting me to speak on this. I encourage you all to, if you're going back to TCAF tomorrow, to check out the Noiseless Din and some of Scott's other work at the Fly Projects table. That's run by his partner Tanya in collaboration with one of Scott's other friends and partners, and they've sort of taken over shepherding his work. So yeah, thank you so much for noticing Scott, and I hope you'll check out his stuff.
Hello. Okay. Mandy Kuyava was not a comic book writer when we met. She was an oral storyteller and a singer-songwriter. And I saw her in a classroom sing and tell this story about a crow that was criticized by some American tourists in Banff National Park. And Jacqueline the crow's feelings were so hurt that she flew away to be away from people, to just get away from all the criticism that she's been facing. And while she was there, she learned to just be herself and ignore the critics. And then she flew back to Canada and ignored the Americans and shared the knowledge she gained with all the other crows about how beautiful they were and how their singing was wonderful. And like, just do the creative thing that you love doing, whether you're teased about it or people criticize you for your talents. And I was in like a school workshop with a few other storytellers and teachers and all these kids, different ages, and every single one of us in the room had tears in their eyes and smiles. And I knew then that Mandy had a gift for storytelling. And she said to me afterwards, "You do comics. I would love to turn a story into a comic." And I was like, "That's what I was thinking." And then we became friends, and we turned Jacqueline the Singing Crow into a quasi-illustrated children's book and a comic book to help children and adults get the message, but also to understand how comics worked, given that how difficult it is sometimes to get people to read comics, right? And then Mandy said, "I've got another book," straight away afterwards. She said, "I've got another book, we need to work on it." And that was the Slug Story, which was several years of working closely together to turn her personal journey with her daughter, of the trauma that they'd been through a traumatic brain injury that her daughter had gone through, and find a comic narrative that, again, helped people to go through difficult situations and come out the other side with hope and love. And it was my pleasure as her editor and her friend to spend that time with her. And I know that when she won the award, she was so happy. And she was so proud. You'd never hear her say, "I did great." You would always be, "Claude Saint-Aubin did fantastic illustration," or "Hannah was so wonderful." She was a very selfless person. And I miss her. She went too soon. But you should read the book, Slug Story. If you know anyone who's curious about comics or is closed off to it, then Jacqueline the Singing Crow is a beautiful introduction that will make them love comics, and Mandy's voice will carry on. Thank you.
Right. Each year, the Doug Wright Awards inducts a new member to the Giants of the North, the Canadian Cartooning Hall of Fame. This year's inductee is Henriette Valium, a comic book artist and painter, and the winner of the 2017 Pigskin Peters Award. His book, Palace of Champions. Peter induct Henriette Valium is Mark Tessier, author, publisher, and photographer, and a member of the Montreal comic scene since 1987.
Hi there. Okay, I thought you couldn't hear me. All right. Okay, well, Valium was a punk, a real fucking punk. So he began to self-publish in 1981. He had the dog's boot. He always wore these jeans short and his like a Canadian shirt with crisscross. And he would ride his bicycle with a banana seat, which I like in French, siège banane. And he would do that around Montreal, and then we'd have Valium sightings. So, yeah, on some occasion he would wear a kilt, but be careful about that one. So Valium, the thing about him is he was bigger than life, like, you know, a true giant of the North. Okay, so yeah, so I'm gonna take you back, like imagine the 80s, before computers, before internet, before cells. So back then, photocopiers were the thing. We called it the photocopy revolution. Because that's how everybody started, because there wasn't that many publishers who did interesting stuff back in the 80s. So people started doing their own thing. But, you know, Valium, he wanted something more, like, so he found, I don't know how he found, but he started silk screening his books, like beautiful books, like, and in those days, it was pretty uncommon. Like, I don't know anybody in the reverse, like Valium influenced a lot of people into silk screening after, but he was the first, and his thing was so tight, so precise, so beautiful. That's what you'd look at it and it's like, my God, it's like amazing. How would he do that? And with all silk screen by hand, like. So that's it. So his books, I always thought were like little jewels, like things that are precious and rare and you want to cherish. Like, and also like, if anybody ever saw, like, it's funny, I saw Andy today, Andy Brown at his table, he had a copy of his book, Primitive Cretin. And he said, I said, that's not the original. You have a thing that was, his original was like, I don't know, big like that. I don't know if anybody saw Kramer's Ergot 8, that was big. Well, Valium Books was bigger. And it's true. So it's the kind of book where do I put it in my library? It doesn't fit anywhere. So that's it. So Valium, like, yeah, perfectionist, loved the detail. And his book, At Dark Humor, social commentary, there were so many things. Like, this man was so generous. Like, they'd say in Quebec comic scene, he was a force to be reckoned with. A hurricane, like, you couldn't stop him. Like, he was doing so many things because he had to do so many things. Like, he was a multidisciplinary artist. And that's what at the end of his life, he would have been to recognize as a complete artist. Like, he was a musician, he did CDs, a videographer, he started experimenting when the computer allowed to do things. It was all so interesting. He did animated movies. He was a magnificent collagist and a painter. Like, he had an exhibit in Montreal last May, and one thing about Valium's art is it was made for galleries. Like, sometimes you go see an exhibit of cartoonists, of pages of cartoon, and it's kind of boring. Like, that's the pages there, and it's interesting. You see all the mistakes, the whiteout, and all these things. But Valium, he would do like acetate layers of things. So when they're scanned, they're all scrunched up. But him, you could see it in exhibit, the level, the depth, and it was like crazy. Like, I don't know why he does it. Like, there's a mystery to his it's like sometimes art goes like somebody masters it so much, it goes further. It's like, wow, wow, wow. So if you ever get a chance to see an exhibit of his original run, because that's where you'll appreciate the full strength of his art. And also, like, well, since he was a fearless punk, he was a taboo busting guy. Like, he always tackles stuff sometimes that for some others, maybe more conservative people, they would have trouble with it. But him, he liked to provoke. Like, he was influenced by a surrealist, by Hans Bellmer. Like, he wanted to do some stuff that's like shocks people, but in a good way, like makes you reflect. But sometimes his thing were so like anyway. He did something called like the Curie Madat, like sick priests. Like even before all those stories came out about all the horrors that the priests did, Valium was tackling it. He was doing pictures of priests, but he was collaging like private parts, like penises, balls, everything, and he went in the face of a priest with it. And the funniest thing, you had to look carefully to see it. At first glance, you couldn't see it. It was on the surface, so that's it. And I remember it was so funny, like one of his image of his priest made the cover of a TV guide that was distributed all over Quebec, and no one complained because no one looked close enough. It's a good thing in a certain kind of way. Right. But also Valium, like he was so intelligent. It was one of the sharpest minds I've ever met. And I'm here too because Valium is probably the greatest artist I've ever met. Like, and he was funny. He liked to test you. If he liked you, he would do little jokes and see how you react. If you reacted well and you went along with him, then you became his friend for life. Like, so that's it. We were all in awe of Valium. Like, he inspired us, he pushed us, he raised the bar so high, and he carried all of us in his wake. So that's it. He died 2 years ago, say at the age of 63. But if you consider the scope of his work, it's as if he lived twice the life he had. Like, and at the end of his life, he passed away in his garage. So that might sound kind of funny, but that's where he lived. He lived in a garage. He turned it into a workspace. It's like incredible. Like he put 2 layers. He had this thing. The garage is so small, and he had a computer, so he built a 2nd floor, and he built a hole because he was kind of a big man, so his feet could go through the roof as he was sitting on his computer working. It's incredible. So you'll probably see the picture. I came back from an exhibit, a huge exhibit in Marseille in France. It's lasting for 3 months. And they recreated his garage in the center of the exhibit. So everybody was amazed to go. You could go see, and you see inside his garage how he lived, and it's pretty much the same. So that was something quite incredible. So that was but what stayed with me going to that exhibit, I think it's the impact that Valium had, because for me, it was the Montreal comics community. Like we all, like Valium was like, we see him, like I said, he inspired us. But when I went to France and Marseille, I realized he had inspired a bunch, like hundreds of artists in France and in Belgium. And that warmed my heart because like Valium, he wasn't just like revered by all the artists in Quebec and Montreal. He had his impact like went further, like beyond the border, beyond Canada. So I think it's pretty apt that he would be recognized tonight for what he's contributed. I think we owe him a debt of gratitude. And this is a wonderful honor for him and his family. But it also serves to keep the memory of Valium artistic accomplishment. And if there was ever, like I said, if there's ever an exhibit of Valium close by, run and go see it. So that's it. Enjoy Valium. So his children are here, so they're gonna come come up and accept the award for the father.
Hi everyone, please forgive me in advance and my sister for my bad English. We are truly French Canadians. We have not prepared any speech, and it's a good thing because each sentence will take a year to say. If our dad was here, he would say something like, please leave me alone, I need to go draw something. Leave me alone, I need to draw, I hope this thing will finish soon, I need to go draw, I need to go draw. And you know, to all the artists here, drawing, composing music, any creative process is a very lonely one. When you're in deep creativity, you're alone with yourself. So you would also say to all the artists here, keep creating, even if it gets lonely, even if sometimes it gets dark and you don't feel. Keep creating, keep making the world more beautiful, keep putting yourself out there and express yourself. That's what I would say. And everybody go create, go do your thing, and leave me alone.
In one of his comics, there's actually a saying. He says the art is both the storm and the boat. The raft, sorry. So I think he had a love and hate relationship with his art. But from when I was a child to this day, I remember him drawing and putting so much work into this art, so that people could see what he had in his mind and what he wanted to express. And so I think we want to thank the Doug Wright Award for recognizing that, even though it might not always be very standard form of art. He's very punk, as Marc Tessier said, but it's very appreciated that he is recognized today, and I think he would really be grateful. Thank you.
Courage to publish Valium. Like I know because we've tried to interest a lot of publishers in Quebec, but one man here did it, and his name is Andy Brown. And please, Andy, would you come up?
Okay, I'm back up here. I just want to make a quick announcement. Thanks so much. That was really heartfelt speeches and talks. I had the great pleasure of publishing Valium in 2016, and we put out this book, and this is the way he wanted his work to appear, like a French album, but this is in English. I'm an English publisher. So there is a Palace of Champions. So I was super proud to be able to do this and work with Valium. You know, I was devastated when he passed away, but he had sent me all his work in English just before that. And so we're launching, as of today, a crowdfunder to have these 5 volumes published in this format as a box set. I have little flyers with the scanner code out on the table, and come to the Conundrum Press table at TCAF, and we have a display of his work. And so yeah, so please support and get the more Valium's work into print. Thanks very much. Dustin, you coming back up?
describing a page of comics art and you say, penis, balls. Well, I can't wait to look up all three of these people that we just talked about because all of it seems like fascinating work that I've not been exposed to yet. So thanks, Doug Wright Awards. Before we present tonight's final award, Brad and Seth, sorry. I'd like to say a few words about Phyllis Wright Thomas, Doug Wright's widow, and our biggest supporter, and my second favorite person in the world, and about the Doug Wright Awards' recently launched crowdfunding campaign for the collected Doug Wright Volume 2.
I'm back. I just wanted to say this has nothing to do with anything else. When I started this thing 19 years ago in a bar that doesn't exist anymore, it was turned out very humble goals. My daughter and a small child, I was kind of, my wife thought it was crazy to do it. And I was just sitting there in the front. I didn't realize that Ariette's kids were here. And I was weeping when they came up. But all of that, the presentation from I don't know your name, from the Toronto Open Comics Library, like exceeded whatever ridiculous expectations I had for this organization. So I just want to say congratulations. You've created it's above and beyond. It's like a child that grows up and like does you proud, if that makes any sense. Parents out there. So yeah, I'm humbled that this exists still in this form and that people have taken Phyllis Wright. Thankfully that some of her family is here. Traditionally, she would come up on stage to help us hand out the awards. Unfortunately, some health concerns meant that she was unable to be with us here. She is 95 years old. She is fierce. She is funny. And it's sad that she's not here. I hope she's watching from home, either live stream or watching later. I'm sure she sends her best. She is the heart and soul of all of this in a weird sort of way. Not only because she was married to Doug, she's depicted in the books. If you see any of the strips, she is the long-suffering mother. Anybody who's a mother will understand this. Anybody who's a father will understand this, her husband. She's the heart and soul of that script in a way, I think is fair to say. My mother, speaking about my mother now, I'm crying about my mother, but my mother supported the Doug Wright book the other night. I mean, I showed her how to do it on her iPad. But I was over there helping her with the banking thing, and she goes, "Oh, Clara, my daughter mentioned you have this thing going on," and she still has that book, like on her coffee table in her living room. 13 years later, and she's so proud of it. One, because I was involved in it, but because she remembers those scripts so well as a young mother, basically growing up, and she is the heart of that, you know, and she's the heart of the awards. She fuels a lot of what we do. You know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we visited her and you and your brothers to talk about doing the second volume and how we were going to strategize about doing that. And she was so welcoming to have us into her condo and root through all of her stuff, like a couple of politics, you know, and like looking through stuff and taking photos. You know, we came down for her 90th birthday party, my daughter and I, and she welcomed us in, and she's always been so welcoming. And going way back to when we talked about doing the awards, I don't know, like, why would she ever listen to two weirdos? One guy who was a cartoonist and some other guy who was a struggling journalist. Like, it doesn't make any sense, really. But she's always been so, supportive. And also very opinionated, you know what I mean? Like, you know, she doesn't like something or whatever, which is great. We need that guidance. Anyway, so we couldn't have done it without her support over the past 2 decades. And we wouldn't have done it without her support for the past 2 decades, more to the point. You know, and while she had 3 boys of her own, Phyllis would always joke to Seth and I were her other sons, which, you know, I guess is humbling, you know, but I think of that in a way, like she's another mother, not to any disrespect to my own mother, but she's always been kind of shepherding these things along and been like a mother to the Doug Wright Awards. So it hurts when she's not here, but she can't be here. But I just wanted to say thank you, Phyllis. I hope you're out there watching. I hope you appreciate flowers. I hope the weekend goes soon. I trust the weekend's goes soon. And I hope you're at the front stage next year. So that's for Phyllis. A round of applause for Phyllis.
have a small scroll. Actually, I do not have a scroll. And I do not have anything prepared, unlike someone who had a scroll. But I am going to talk about the crowdfunder for Volume 2 of the Doug Wright Awards. When we originally proposed doing a book, I talked to Chris Oliveros about it, and I wanted to just do a single volume that covered the entire career of Doug Wright. And Chris was like, no, let's do 2 volumes. We'll do one, and then the other one will come out right after. What is it? How many years is it now? 13 years later. And the second volume, it's like, we really need to do the second volume. Doug Wright's career was an important, what Dustin was talking about earlier, about like the responsibilities of an artist. The responsibilities of an artist are that you honor the people who came before you and you support the people that come after you. But that part about honoring the people before you can be very abstract. It can just mean like, you're aware of what came before. The other side of it, though, is legitimately to try and somehow make other people aware of the work that has come before you that has been sometimes overlooked or forgotten. Now, Doug Wright was not an overlooked artist. He was an important artist. He was like in Canada after World War II. You could probably name the cartoonists that existed in the mainstream on one hand. But each of those cartoonists had like a big footprint here in Canada. People were aware of their work, although, aware of things in a way that they didn't like, they didn't think it was important in that sense, but they saw this work. They knew who the artists were. Doug Wright is like, he had a long shadow. People knew his work for years after he was gone. They may not have remembered his name, but everybody who saw that work remembered it. They grew up with it. I certainly did. I was very interested in his work as a kid. It was I think my dad's favorite strip. So I would look at it and he would tell me it was Little Nipper, although at that point it was called Doug Wright's Family. And later in the 80s, I tried to collect it. And that's when I started to realize like, this was hard work to find. It's amazing how quick the world forgets like what's right there in front of you. It just passes so quickly, especially nowadays where it's like, what have you done for me today? Doug Wright's work had vanished in a short period of 2 decades, maybe. And so this experience of Brad is the one who said we should name the awards Doug Wright Awards. Putting the book together to a big degree, that was Brad's idea too. I mean, that book, I think, really brought Doug's work back into the world again, and that's only half the story. It's like there's a tremendous, that book covers like his exciting early work up until the mid-60s, I think. 62, yeah, and then that period from 62 to like the end of his career is some of the finest cartooning in Canada. It's subtle, it's smart, it's like a drawing ability you don't see like every single day. A lot of American cartoonists that have seen that work because of this book have said to me like, wow, this guy like literally was like a master draftsman and I'd never heard of him in my life. I think it's important that this book get out there. And so I would like to, this is my begging of support this crowdfunder. It's an important cultural event. And if this was back in, as we were talking about Martin Von James back in the 70s earlier today in a panel, and we were talking about that golden age of Canadian government support for the arts. Well, this is not that time. So now I'm coming to you. So I would really appreciate if people would check into it, see what they think, and if you feel like it, please support the project.
Where can they get it tomorrow?
Something on a computer.
This old man down there is real jet. Thank you, Seth. I knew I would have. I knew I was going to have to step in and fill in some of the blanks. So a couple of blanks to fill in is that so the original book was edited by Seth and I, produced by Chris Oliveros. I read the biography at the front. All of that's going to be the same. So it'll be like Seth and I working on it with Chris, who's not here. And then I'll be writing the completion of his life story, which is biography basically. And it is on a platform called Crowdfunder with no E's. So like dropping the typo. Fix that next time. Yeah, and there are some things over here. You can little bookmarks. You can QR code. It'll take you to it. I wanted to thank a couple of people who are in the room. I know about Skyler, maybe Leslie Stein. I don't know if he's there. This book is so it came out in 13 years. It was silent, publishing silent, And out of the blue, a couple of years ago, Noah and Leslie, who are both American cartoonists, were just like, hey, this guy's stuff is amazing. And I knew Noah already, and I was like, this is exactly what you want. These young people are coming along and discovering this beautiful book. And they would ask, and the people would ask, well, when is the next volume coming out? So that is the plan. So there are a bunch of different tiers. You can get a book signed by Seth. There are some artist tiers where you can get a piece of original art from Dan Clowes and Noah Van Sciver and different people. That's around $500 to $600. How far are we along, Coded, as of this exact moment?
55%.
55%. That's great. 2 weeks to go. I have 2 weeks to go. Yeah, and I'll if you fund it, I'll do anything. I'll sign it up. I'll come to your house and read it to your family. Thank you very much. Next up is Dustin.
Cody, do you know offhand isn't there a Doug Wright table on the show floor tomorrow? Yes. What's the number?
128.
128. Also, if you don't get it by there today, if you get a little light in a second and forget, you can go by and get more information there. This is pretty exciting, what's coming up right now. It's pretty exciting. But it's sad. It's sad. This is the last award, but it's sexy. Because I'm announcing this award. But just as part of the award. But I'm going to do it without my pants on. Before we present tonight's final, oh wait, that's the last part. Sorry, not sexy. And now, the evening's final presentation, the Doug Wright Award for Best Book, sponsored by Strange Adventures Comics and Curiosities. This award is given to the best book of any kind, published by, it's broad, published by a Canadian creator team during the 2022 calendar year. The best book, all caps, winner will receive a trophy and a small cash prize. Here to present the 2023 Best Book Award is Kat Sun, a graphic novelist writing under the name Tingu and one of this year's Best Book judges.
In front of people. It's incredible. Didn't prepare anything either, but wow, I didn't expect to cry multiple times tonight, but it was so moving and in honor of Valium, I'll keep it short and sweet so we can all go make art after. Truly an honor to be here. The nominees for the 2023 Best Book Award are Ducks by Kate Beaton, next one, Time Zone. Shelter Bell. Winner tonight, absolutely astounding. Please buy his book. It's so poignant. The Flamingo by Gorgie. Absolutely stellar. Beautiful illustrations, wonderful narrative. Quander Polk. Oh my God! This book is monumental. Great job. You know sex. Everyone knows sex now. Noah Smith, Triangle Square. And the winner is Ducks by Kate.
Kate Beaton actually emailed us earlier today or texted us and asked, do you think I should prepare some words?
But literally every time I have asked an author to prepare some words, they do not win, and I feel like a big jerk. So we said, hey, you know, the Doug Wright Awards are wild, you know, Dustin hosts them, and like, you never know what's gonna happen, so but you know, Kate, she really wanted to be here at TCAF at the Doug Wright Awards, but she committed to a festival in Newfoundland in January, and there was a huge storm, and it was moved to last weekend. So she had a commitment. She was appearing there with her husband Morgan, and therefore, because to get to Kate's, you have to go to the middle of nowhere and then go 3 hours north of the middle of nowhere, and then you get to Cape Breton, which is basically kind of the point of Doug's. And so it's very hard for her to be able to travel with her 2 young kids. If Kate was up here, she'd do that great Kate thing where she's just like talking outside the corner of her mouth, like cracking jokes, and then we'll say something really poignant. And I can't say that because I'm just a publisher and not as eloquent or talented as my authors. But I worked with Kate on this book for 7 years, and Kate worked so very, very hard on this book, and I've never seen somebody have the idea of what they want. And when she told me 7 years ago, like, well, there's 3 camps, and then I went to Victoria, and then I came back, and I was like, yeah, we'll do this, yeah. But in my head, I was like, how the hell are we gonna do this? And Kate did it, because she just worked so hard on this, and she knew that she wanted to push her art to the next level. She knew she wanted to make a graphic novel. And nowadays everyone's making a graphic novel, but she's like, I just want it to be restrained. I want it to feel like you're there. And she did all of that. And it's so rewarding as a publisher when your author does exactly what they set out to do. And you just really kind of can't believe it. I'm trying to think, and who would Kate think? Well, she would definitely thank her parents. Her parents and her family are a big part of her book. And she would thank Morgan, her husband, who she met and she married. For a long time, one of the first things that Kate did in the book, and we did in the process of making the book, was she went to Newfoundland to a Petro conference. And we paid for the plane ticket, and that's where she met Morgan. And I thought I had this big role in her meeting her husband, but they had actually met online before, so. But she fell in love while making this book. And she also lost her sister while making this book. And so she would want to say thank you to Becky and thank you to all her sisters. And when she lost her sister, it was heartbreaking. And she'd want to thank everyone, all the generations of people. I don't know if any of you got to see her wonderful presentation, where her presentation was just mind-blowing, where she just talks about all the generations of people who have left Nova Scotia to go work elsewhere. And it's just, it's like she creates this huge book that I just am so proud of her for her doing. And then she creates this stage show, which is like, I know I shouldn't be surprised because we published that. And this is like inside Seth's mind right now. But it's so fascinating when the cartoonists just come up with all these, creative things. And what Kate did in this book is wonderful. And the fact that she chose Drawn Quarterly to publish it, sometimes I don't think we think about these cartoonists who are so talented, and they could be published by literally anyone in the world, but they're here being published by Drawn Quarterly or Conundrum or any of our Canadian publishers. And that speaks volumes. And I know she'd want to say thank you to all the people that she met in the oil sands. And Kate would not want it to be about Kate. But I think we're all here because Kate is a wonderful cartoonist, and I'm just very, very proud of her. So thank you very much for voting for her. Forgive me. I'd like to thank my coworker Tracy Hearn, who edited the book with me, who designed the book. The oil slick duck on the yellow cover is all Tracy. And I'd also like to thank all of my coworkers at Drawn Quarterly. Ducks was a team effort to get it out at Drama Quarterly. And I think they're all up there, or they went to go do, or they went to karaoke with Michael DeForge, which you kind of can't blame them, but no, they're up there. And every single department at Drama Quarterly, had a hand in this, and so I'm very proud of my team at Drama Quarterly. So thank you, everybody up there.
What are you doing here, Steve? Who invited you? Let's start. Go ahead, let's start.
Woo! Yes, Steve!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wright Awards. I'll be your host for the evening. How far in are we? 4 hours in. Are we wrapping it up? Yeah, you're wrapping it up. Go ahead and take it. I want to thank everybody who presented tonight. I want to thank all the nominees, all the winners. Who was not me tonight. The game went so long. I played 44 minutes tonight, and we still didn't get the win, and we needed it to make the playoffs. Actually, Dustin's gonna wrap it up for you all. I'll tell you guys about the game afterwards. I'll be along.
Can you imagine if you get back together with your ex, and then her ex, who is better, shows up right at the end. Right at the end. You know, at the end? Fucking rude. Speaking of rude, I have here in the script, Dustin Harbin closing comments. I did not write any closing comments. So as my closing comments, I'd just like to thank everyone for participating in this art form, and venerating the people that we work with and whose work we love, whose work we're discovering for the first time, or whose work that we're going to go and research more. I have some homework to do tomorrow. Balls, penis. So I just think it's really, I know these things can be stodgy and dumb, and I really appreciate how in it everyone is at this event, and thanks for being patient and engaged. I think Conan might come up and say something about a raffle. Is that?
No, we're going to have the raffle, but I don't need to say anything.
You're gonna have
You can just end.
Is that a silent raffle? All right. Well, then let's all bow our heads while I pray. Thanks, everyone, and have a very good night.
Don't leave just yet. We will have a raffle. So we've got, So we've got 4 or 5 Wiggles and Grady Super 7 action figures, and 1 copy of the now very rare collected Doug Wright